channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Hiba, and here on my channel I discuss recent missing person cases, particularly those that don't get a lot of attention in the mainstream media. If you're into that type of content, go ahead and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Today I would like to talk about Jessica Marshik, who hasn't been seen or heard from since December 14th, 2021. There are very few details in this case, obviously because it's still an ongoing investigation, but also because of the lack of urgency from the Minnesota police. I'll talk more about this later, but first, let me tell you more about Jessica. Jessica, who also goes by Jess, is a 36-year-old woman from Minneapolis. I don't believe that she was born in Minnesota, but that's where she currently resides. Jessica is very involved in her community and is a social justice activist. While pursuing her PhD at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, she was featured in a newsletter. This is from 2012, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but feel free to pause if you want to read it. In it, she states, "I am interested in decreasing all forms of stigma and discrimination." She also continues to highlight her love for video games, music, and traveling. After not hearing from her for 5 days, her family went to her apartment in the Marcy Homes neighborhood to check in on her. They did this because it was so unusual for her to go this long without talking to anyone. In fact, friends say that she was the type of person who would reply right away when you texted her. When the family arrived at the apartment, they were surprised to find Jessica's door unlocked and open. When they entered the apartment, there was no sign of her. However, all of her belongings, including her keys, her cell phone, and her purse, were still there. That day, December 19th, Jessica was reported missing. I think the first thing to do here is to check out her apartment building. And authorities did do that to some extent. Unfortunately, there aren't any cameras in the building, so like in the hallways and in the entry area, so there's no video that they could check to see who's coming and going. I believe that investigators are looking for any cameras nearby, especially those that had a view of the door. The building does have controlled entry access, which means that to enter you have to have a key or have someone buzz you in. However, a person could always walk in after someone else unlocks the door or gets buzzed in. I'm sure we've all done this at some point where we just follow the person going in, so I'm not sure how effective the controlled entry is. Like I mentioned earlier, the Minneapolis Police Department has been slow to react. I want to be clear that I'm not bashing law enforcement in any way, but I really think that they did the bare minimum here. The reason I say this is because when Jessica's family and friends started speaking to neighbors, it was clear that they had not talked to police. In fact, many were unaware that Jessica was even missing, which is so bizarre to me. They live in the same building. It makes no sense. There also haven't been sniffer dogs brought in, and this is usually one of the first things that's done in cases like this. A lot of valuable time and opportunity was wasted. For all we know, Jessica could very well still be in that building, or could have been at one point. If she did leave the apartment, whether willingly or not, the cameras in the surrounding area should have picked her up somewhere. I hope that authorities at least gathered this footage. It's a month and a half later, and many security cameras just record over the previous recordings. Some believe that Jessica's activism could be the reason why law enforcement has essentially neglected her case. Like I mentioned earlier, she is a social justice activist, and she's a member of the Racial Justice Network. According to their website, the Racial Justice Network is a multiracial grassroots organization committed to fighting for racial justice. Jessica is outspoken in her support of racial equality and attends various marches regularly. In one of her recent Facebook posts, she shared an article and wrote, "USA Today highlights glaring gaps in police policy and procedures." She shared many posts like this on Facebook. As you probably already know, sometimes these marches and groups are associated with being anti-police. While that can be the case, it isn't always, and many people just want accountability on both sides. Regardless of how you feel about that though, some question if her activism has impacted the way this case is being handled. I think there are several possible theories here. It's possible that Jessica went out for a walk that day and something possibly happened, or she encountered someone. At that time, it was surprisingly warm for winter, with the temperature being 40 to 50 degrees. Knowing this, maybe she thought she didn't need a jacket and just left. Maybe she didn't take her phone because she figured she would be back shortly. However, this doesn't explain why the door was left unlocked and was open with her keys still inside. Another theory is that someone in the apartment did or knows something, whether it be a delivery person, a neighbor, or even someone that Jessica knew. At 5'1" with a slim build, Jessica could have easily been overtaken. Is it possible that she was lured out of her apartment by someone with bad intentions? Maybe they asked her for help and insisted that it was just down the hall and wouldn't take long. If this is the case, it could explain why she left everything behind and why her door was left open. The last theory I'll discuss is that Jessica chose to leave or potentially harm herself. Friends have stated that she was going through a difficult time in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. However, Jessica is a mental health advocate. She did research on stigma and mental health, and she worked in a psychiatric ward for some time. If she was struggling to that degree, I hope that she would have sought help. Unfortunately though, that may not be the case. It's very difficult to do that when you're going through it. Regardless of what happened, her loved ones deserve answers. There's barely been any coverage on this, even locally. A Facebook page for Jessica has been created, and I will link it below in the description. They hope that sharing her story and raising awareness will lead to answers. Jessica is 5'1" with a slim build. She has brown hair and brown eyes. Oftentimes she's wearing glasses, and she has a tattoo on her back of a map. If you have any information, please call the number in the description below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to Jessica's story. I'll see you guys in my next one.